Good afternoon and welcome to the second segment of the day with tips from the Job Connection Center. Today, for this segment, we have two special guests. But before we get into those two guests, I just want to kind of reiterate our mission here at Goodwill. We improve the lives of people with disabilities or other disadvantages through employment, training, and job placement opportunities. Again, my name is Charles, and I'll be hosting you through this event. And I work at Goodwill as a job developer. So thank you for joining us. Before we get started, I just want to kind of give you guys some contact information. If any of this information intrigues you and you want to get more information or we can answer any questions for you, feel free to contact us. You can reach us at our website at www.goodwillnwohio.com. You can reach us on Facebook, Goodwill Now, and at JCC NWO. You can also come in person here at the Madison location. We're here from. So call us at 419-255-0070, extension 310. And you can also reach us via email at jcc@goodwill.org. So if you have any questions or if you want to reach us or talk to us or anything that we can do to help you through these times with employment or anything, just feel free to contact us through those different ways. Again, we have two special guests, and these guests are going to give us the perspective from an employer. They work with Goodwill and are a part of doing some hiring, so they can kind of help us learn a little bit more about what we should do and what it look like, what they're looking for when they're hiring new people. So I will let these two introduce themselves. If you want to go first, Ms. Roxann.
Hello, I'm Roxann Trailer, and I'm the account manager or a account manager here at Goodwill for ODOT District 2.
Sorry, my name is Olin. I'm the custodial contracts account manager for Goodwill Industries of Northwest Ohio.
And thank you guys for joining us and welcome to this podcast. So as we get started, what do you look for when you looking to hire a new employee? Roxann.
Basically, when the initial interview, I do look for punctuality as one thing. I also look at how they're dressed. If they're dressed appropriately, I'd like to see at least some business for the interview.
So when you talked about being punctual, can you give us an example of your idea of being punctual? I was always taught being 15 minutes early is actually being on time. Where do you weigh in on that?
Yes, I agree. 15 minutes is good because it shows that you set out to make sure that you weren't late and give yourself time to get there if it's a location you're not familiar with. Also, it shows respect for the time of the interviewer and wanting to be there to get started and that you're ready to go on time.
Right. What about you, sir? What are some of the things that you look for?
I look for, like I said, flexibility. Due to the nature of the accounts that we have, we need people to be flexible when it comes to their schedule. I also look for work ethic. Integrity is important to me. And that's hard to see in your initial, when you see an initial resume, but once you talk to that person or like Roxann said, you get to meet them, you can kind of tell, where they fall in those categories. And I kind of look for those right up front, as a guidance to me to help me with what I'm going to follow through with them for.
So when you mentioned the resume a little bit, what do you like to see in a resume or what don't you like to see? What do you consider to be a good resume? Here, we try to advise our clients to kind of keep their resume concise. Yeah. And as a person, as people who have to read and view 50 to 100 resumes, maybe a day, week, or however many, what's some of the tips that we can give these people that sending in their resumes?
For me, I look for proper formatting. I'm kind of anal about that. I would like to see that their history is in chronological order. I dislike poor grammar or incomplete information on a resume. We've received some without any phone number where we can reach them at, or no, sometimes no email if they mail it to us or email it to us. It's just not email it, but if they mail it to us or come in, for instance, at the office and drop it off. So little things like that I look for, and I say, okay, this is some. This person might need a little help with something, but those are the kinds of things I look for in a resume like that.
What about you, Roxann? What are some of the things that you like to see in a potential resume, or some things that you don't like to see?
Well, I agree with Alan on that. I like them concise because we do go through a lot of them, and when they're more
Right.
concise, it's easier to get the information. But I do like to see some of their activities, like if they volunteer in the community or they belong to organizations. I like to see leadership skills.
Mm-hmm.
That it kind of gives me more of an idea if they're capable of being a team player in the work environment. If you see some of their leadership skills.
Right. And I'm actually glad you mentioned the leadership skills, because that brings me to my next question. When we talk to our clients, we talk to them about soft skills, and some of them are what are soft skills. And I try to explain soft skills are the things that you do, that you learn, that you really can't be taught. It's just things like leadership. So can you give me a couple examples of the soft skills that you look for, and some of those words and, that you like to see on a resume when you talk about soft skills?
It could be anything. I mean, it doesn't always have to be your position on a job. It could be in the community. Like you could do volunteer work at a shelter. You could do volunteer work in a hospital. You know, it just shows that you are showing leadership and that you are capable of working on a team for a common goal. Things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about you, Alan? Is there anything you want to piggyback on the soft skills?
Sure. Sometimes I see soft skills, like I know Roxann mentioned this earlier too. Arriving on time, for instance, that's one I like to see. Um, Knowing how to follow instructions, I think Roxann mentioned that too earlier too. Proper clothing, making sure that they show up. I mean, granted, they don't have to come in business attire, but semi or business casual, for instance, not showing up in sandals and shorts and tore up jeans and stuff like you. Those are kind of some soft skills that I kind of would not like to see with a person coming for an interview.
So one thing that when I talk to clients about, I always kind of say most people that's looking to hire you really want to know if they can work with you. They feel like I feel like most people what they need you to learn to do the job, but they want to make sure that you're likable, that you're a team player. So can you guys kind of chime in on that? Tell me how you feel about that, and how much do you rank the soft skills versus knowing the job? Like, is it a 50-50, 60-40 if you have the soft skills, or how do you guys feel about that?
I feel the soft skills are very, because I know, and Alan probably feels the same. We both have dealt with our janitorial contracts and that for a long time. And you can basically teach even someone who's never done janitorial work. They are able to be taught, what they need to know for the job. But as you said, you can't always teach them the teamwork, the punctuality. It's something, like you said, they have to bring to the table, or know they can, that they have the ability to bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So you can definitely teach them what they need to do and train them for the position, but they have to work on their soft skills themselves to be able to, put that in effect.
Yes, right. For me, Charles, I kind of agree with Roxann to some degree, but I would tend to prefer a person more that knows what to do, as opposed to, for instance, not maybe being a few minutes late or so. But if they know they're, and like Roxann said too, that you have to train them, obviously. But I would tend to go more with the skills and hire someone for their skills more than the other part of it. But I mean, once you get to have an interaction with the employee, then you'll see that come out too. So you'll be able to determine, okay, this person has a what I call a teachable attitude, where you know that you could teach them and they can learn, or you know they'll be stubborn and not want to do anything. So
Right.
it's something digit more or less, you know.
Do you guys have any other interview tips that you want to leave for our listeners? Just any, because I know sometimes when you're interviewing people, they can range from a 15-minute segment to a 30-minute segment. Is there any, because I'm the tough questions, like one of the tough questions that our clients always ask is, which I can kind of ask you guys looking for, like, what is your biggest weakness? That's always a question that our clients always have a hard time answering. So in your opinion, what is a good answer to that question?
Well, I personally, honesty, I feel, at this stage, most of the people, jobs that are, what your qualities are, or you should know at this stage what your weaknesses and what your strong points are. So I look for honesty. I prefer that somebody isn't just telling me what they think I want to hear, that they are being honest about what their weak points are and how they're working on them, as well as their strong points and what, they're doing to enhance that as well.
Mm-hmm. True. I like that. For me, Charles, I agree, Roxanne, too. Because of the nature of the job, the kind of jobs that we provide here in our contracts department, one of the things that I look for is reliable transportation.
Oh, yes, yes.
I always kind of like that's in the back of my mind. Like, okay, well, this person be able to work when they're supposed to be there. And Roxanne know that all too well, that we look at and when I finally get to the point where I'm meeting them, I want them to come with a neat appearance, clean appearance. Again, going back to the thing, showing up on time. That's a good tip when they're going to come to an interview. But I look for those things, and hopefully, when you meet them, you'll know more or less, because we've asked before where someone will tell you, oh yeah, I can get there, and then 2 days later after they're hired, I said I could get there, but it was my friend's car. So I kind of push that a lot when I interview people. I say, I really emphasize that. Okay, how will you get to work? Do you have your own transportation? Is it reliable? Et cetera, et cetera. So, those are kind of some tips I think that I would like to see put out there for people, and essential, again, to showing up on time and call before if you're going to be late or something. Because I've gone to interviews too, and for me, Charles, I sometimes drive all the way to Findlay,
Right.
supposed to meet someone, and that's an hour and a half, 2 hours of my day, and they don't show up.
Right.
That's kind of annoying.
Right. I can imagine.
Full of the interviewer's time. That's really important, because I have to drive sometimes out of town too for the interviews, and I consider it very disrespectful, especially if you've talked to the person several times, or and they've told you they're definitely going to be there, and then they don't show up or call.
Right.
It takes unnecessary time away from
Mm-hmm.
your day if they're not coming and they don't notify you.
Yep.
Right. And I think that's just,
Charles, they should know that even though you do put a resume, like if you and apply, companies still require that you fill out a written application as well. Because a lot of people are surprised, or they'll say to you during the interview, do I have to? They need to understand that companies still require the application filled out completely.
Yes.
Right. That is a huge tip. That's one thing that we kind of been stressing over the last couple segments with this, is filling out the application completely. Not only does that show that you pay attention to detail, it shows that you can that you pay attention, that you can follow directions. I can imagine how big of a turnoff that is if incomplete information, especially incorrect email address. Like, we want to hire you, everything looks great, but we can't contact you. Exactly. So now we spent time and effort and researching you and now we have to move on to someone else.
Right.
So for all of our listeners, let's remember these couple of things. Being on time is very, very important. Make sure you show up before time. Respect everyone's time. Second thing, don't be afraid, I think, is one of the things I'm learning. If you're great soft skills, sometimes that can not necessarily weigh more, but it can help you if you don't have some of the hard skills you need for the job. Right. So that's two things that we can take from this so far. And thanks for those tips. I guess my next question is, I know a lot of places, including ourselves, we're kind of on a hiring freeze, but what kind of contracts do we normally have here at Goodwill? So for our listeners who may be looking for a job or may hear about we're hiring in the future, what type of contracts do we normally have?
And Roxann can agree with me. With our department, we obviously have federal. We have federal accounts, state. Most of them are state, county, and city.
Okay.
They're primarily oriented in those areas for us. We have a few private ones, but they're very far in between. But the primary ones are the state through the Department of Transportation or the Department of Health or even Ohio Lottery, OIU, which is the investigative unit here in the city of Toledo. And then for instance, for the county, we have a lot of the lawn services for them, as well as the city. We do boulevards for the county and parks for the city. So those are primarily our biggest contracts that we have right now here at Goodwill.
And are most of those contracts are janitorial work, correct?
Some of them, the ones for the county and the city, those are mostly lawn crew in this.
Okay.
So it starts like in roughly middle of March through sometimes October, depending on the weather. But
right.
Those are seasonal. The other accounts that Roxann and I manage, those are year round, 365 days of the
year. Full-time and part-time,
Yep.
So Roxann, can you give us an idea on those other contracts and what type of work they went? If they were to apply
if somebody applies currently, I do have openings at the Bowling Green rest areas in Bowling Green, Ohio, which is for any that's from Toledo. It's roughly about 25 minutes from here, southbound. I have also some openings for part-time, and that's at the district office for ODOT, which is also located in Bowling Green near the university. So require transportation, and there is part-time and full-time available. So it would, whoever, flexibility wise, if you're going to school, you might want to look at the part-time versus a full-time. But there is both open.
Okay. And for all our listeners and our clients, how will one go by applying for these?
They can apply directly to our office, or they can apply through you, or they apply. There are listings on Indeed.com if they haven't already applied there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Indeed. And sometimes, Charles, the Department of Marketing here will post stuff for Roxann and I on Facebook as well.
Yes.
So they can look there for some of the jobs and stuff like that. One thing I wanted to touch with Roxann, she mentioned the District 2. For people that are in the Toledo area, if to be a part of that crew, we do provide transportation from Goodwill to BG for that.
Yes,
so if they can
thank you,
get
Ellen.
here, we can get them there.
That's it. We have transportation.
The district headquarters.
That's awesome. Not a lot of places going to offer you transportation to get back and forth. So that's a huge plus. That is a huge perk. That's just one of the good things. Another good thing that Goodwill is offering, another resource. So thank you guys for that, for that, because that probably helps a lot. I'm sure it does. Do you guys, as we get ready to close this out, do you guys have any more tips or any more advice or any words for those who are currently job searching?
I would just say for applicants, for instance, to come here to the office and apply, just to be patient. Sometimes you don't get one time, but depending on the need of certain positions, we will go back to those resumes and look. But or they can also be persistent. I don't mind them calling me every other day. Hey Alan, did you look at my resume or what's up? Because that shows me too that they're interested and they're eager to work.
Yes,
'Cause
Right.
absolutely.
sometimes we get busy, we have our schedules, and Roxann has her driving all over the place for these districts, and we do different things, and our mind get off things, but that doesn't mean that we want to help these people, because like you mentioned in your opening, Charles, we're here to help people
Absolutely.
in need, disabilities. So I always try to go that extra mile and say, okay, I need to do my best to try and get this person a job.
Got you. What about you, Roxann? Any other final thoughts or tips for our clients?
I agree with Allie's our job to help try to find employment for individuals who are definitely eager and interested. And like he said, we're both very busy individuals. If you call us and we see that you definitely, are interested, and we usually try to help you out as best we can.
Cool, cool. Thank you guys for that. And just a quick recap, some things we learned being on, not just getting there when it comes to work,
Right.
anything. You just always want to be early. Two, it's okay to kind of be annoying when it comes to job searching. Once you get your resume in and you went through the proper channels, it's okay to
Absolutely.
call. Call and be persistent. Persistent is good because you're busy. One thing that we also learned is, um, which I didn't know, which I kind of figured, is you have to fill out 2 applications. So just because you go on Indeed to fill out an application, when you come in for your interview or for your orientation, you may have to fill out another application. So always, and that will help you if you're on time, because you can fill out the proper paperwork before your interview. And I think, from what I'm learning, that is a plus. That is what people are looking
Absolutely.
for. Also, always dress to impress. It doesn't necessarily mean suit
No.
and tie, but come with the proper clothes, especially for what I'm hearing, kind of geared to the job. So if you know you're going to be working in janitor, the proper material, even on your first day.
Yeah,
You don't
just
want to
business
pull up for
casual.
a janitorial job in flip flops. Yeah, even for the first day of work, you don't want to do janitorial work or cut grass in flip flops. So make sure that you're prepared. Make sure you're prepared for
Exactly.
work. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for taking time out your busy schedules to join us. Thank you guys for the tips
You're
and the
welcome.
information. Again, thank you again to our listeners. Feel free to contact us at 255-0070, extension 3104 if you have any questions, or you can email us at jcc@goodwillnwohio.org for any information about anything that you heard. If you guys don't have anything else, thank you for joining us, and thank the viewers and the listeners for listening, and we will see you
Thank you too,
guys soon.
Charles.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.